Welcome back to the Blueprint to Ultra podcast with your hosts, Steve Epifano and Jeff Winchester. Our goal with this podcast is to help you put together your own plan for your next ultra. We do this by interviewing a variety of guests that range from back of the pack to elite runners that share their own experiences for us all to learn from. And our next guest, I don't want people to think that she is here because of who she is. I want people to know she is here because of what she did. She's fresh off her first 100-mile finish at Blackbeard's Revenge 100 Miler, getting her own revenge on a DNF last year at mile 54. All this at the age of 63. With that, welcome our next guest, grandma to some, Anna to most, and mom to me. So here's my mom.
Anna, welcome to the show. We're excited to have you.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
We are thrilled. It's funny, Steve, as you were going through the introduction, I know we have a very standard introduction we see every time. And one of the things that, we said was that we interview a variety of guests with the hopes that you will have something that you can learn from them, right? And this is your mom. So I'm assuming over the course of your life, you've learned a few things from her that weren't running related, but we're going to all learn today about running. And so, Anna, we're excited to hear that. We're also really excited to hear possible secrets of what it's like to have Steve as your child. Steve doesn't know we're going to spend the entire time talking about being raised by you and what that looked like and all his deep, dark secrets as a child.
I don't see that anywhere on the script.
I'm making it up as I go.
Got that in there somewhere.
Right. No, but seriously though, we are thrilled. Absolutely thrilled. I met you officially at one of our races when I was a race director before. So I think it was the Final Countdown was the first time I met you. Mm-hmm. You come down to support Steve at that race. And then I came and stayed at your place when I was crewing Brooklyn, who is one of Steve's athletes. He also helps us on social media with all of our Instagram and everything else. And she ran the 2025 race, which we're going to talk about as well. So I've met you in person, and I think you are a fantastic human being, despite Steve.
Well, thanks, Jeff.
All my troubles made her a fantastic human being.
I agree with you. So, when we were prepping, we talk about this script, as Steve said, about like, what do we want to talk to our guest about? And we typically say, what is your running background? How did you get into running in the first place? And if you've listened to our episodes, which I'm assuming you've probably listened to at least one, that, we often ask that question about the running background. But as we were discussing you specifically, we kept thinking, it's kind of like running was forced upon you. As an older adult here. And so the question I actually want to begin with is, do you think that if Steve had not been engaged in ultra running and involved in ultra running a couple of years back, I guess, 6-7 years back now, maybe 6 years
crazy.
Back,
right.
That do you think you would find yourself having run the Blackbeard's Revenge?
I would probably say not. No, I would
Crazy.
not have done it. Yeah.
So it is his fault.
It is.
So speaking of things that influenced you and his fault, then, so let's go back to your first official race, which I believe when you sent us your information was the RAF 10K.
Yeah.
Yeah. So why did you try and do a 10K in the first place? So like I said, I blame Steve. So let's talk about that. Like, how did you get into running with that and where did it come from?
Yeah. Now that I think about it, it might have been a 5K the first one, but I think it was a 10K. I'm not sure. Was it 5, Steve? Do you remember?
I think it might have been the 5, and then you moved up
and
to
then
the
we
10,
went to the
and
10.
then the 25.
How many laps did you do?
There.
It's one.
Yeah, the first time would be one, yeah.
It probably felt like more. And I walked it. Like, I had no interest in running at all. So me and my husband walked it. And we walked the 10K. And, our interest was just getting out there, being active, and, supporting a great cause and just trying to keep our bodies moving. I never was a runner, never wanted to run. And as I said in my message to you, that I was not a very good athlete. I just didn't have that in me. But when this all came about, it was like, all right, we'll give it a shot. But the walking, doing the hiking, we were on it. I never thought even at that point, I never thought I'd run. And it was only till the 2025 Blackbeard where, like you said, I kind of got tossed into it that it all came to be.
Yeah, let's talk about that then. So let's just start getting into Blackbeards. Was it something that you intentionally signed up for, or how did you get to the Blackbeard 2025 race, that is?
Yeah, I did not sign up for that one. And me and my husband, I don't know where we even found it. And we were like, people that would do this, what, are they insane? Like, we would take a ride down to where it is, and, you know, we're like, you got to go clear across the Outer Banks. Like, are they nuts? And then, like, I don't know, a couple months later, my husband's like, you know, I think I want to walk that run. I'm like, what is happening here? And Steven even, like, didn't have anything to do with it at that point. I think he didn't even know about it. And so my husband asked him, you know, you think I could do this? And, you know, would you work with me? And they decided to do it. And I was like, all right, if you want to do this, go ahead. I'll train with you because I want to be out there too. I don't, you know, I want to be active. So I said, I'll train as much as I can. I'm not going to go to the limit, you know, like once to the point where I get, I'm done, I'm going to stop. And, but I just kept going and going, and we were just walking. We weren't running at all at that point. And so we were walking the training. And then I think Steve might have thrown in, you know, a little bit of running towards the end of where my husband decided not to do it anymore. He had some medical issues and decided that, all right, this isn't happening. Like, I can't function properly. I'm not going to be able to finish this. So why would I move forward? You know, like, they all made a decision. And I was like, oh, I'm going to regret this, but let me ask Steve if I can do it.
All right, so let's pause there. So, Steve, first, before I ask the question, can you tell us a little bit about the race? You've run it a couple of years as well. Can you describe the race for those who are trying to figure out, like, what is Blackbeard's? And she mentioned the Outer Banks. Like, can you describe the race real quick?
Yeah, so Blackbeard's Revenge is a 100-mile race in the Outer Banks in North Carolina. It goes from right around the Corolla Lighthouse all the way down pretty much one road. So it's a road race, 100 miles. I think the elevation profile is 26 feet. No, elevation's probably around 200 feet maybe. So it's flat, and it goes all the way down to around the Cape Hatteras Lighthouse. That's kind of where it ends. And a lot of people think, oh, it's a flat road race, so it's easy. I'll do it as a 100-miler. But the course itself isn't difficult. It's you're completely exposed there. You're open to the environment, whatever it is. And for the most part, on the Outer Banks, you're going to encounter some sort of wind. I think last year it got up to like 40 to 50 mile an hour winds on the bridge. This year we were probably sitting at no winds on the bridge this year, thankfully. But the environment is what makes this race, you know, pretty tricky. And it could be really hot, or it could be raining and cold as hell. So
yeah. Well, I think that 200 feet of elevation gain is all on that one bridge that we'll get to in a minute, around mile 54, right? The brutal bridge. But so, Anna, if you can take us then back to your story, you know, your husband and you were walking, you were doing a lot of training for it and everything. And how long had you guys been training together before he had his medical issue that said, I think I need to stop, not do this, and you then decided you were going to continue on with training to the race? Like, how much of how much history had you put into the training to where you were comfortable enough to make that decision? Because, you know, if you guys had only been doing it for a couple of weeks, you're like, this is back crazy. Like, I'm not doing that, right? So how long had you been training together before that happened? And then how much longer did you have before the race?
Yeah, we were probably into it, I don't want to say like 8 months maybe.
Okay, so you're pretty deep.
So we were pretty, and he was pushing. He really wanted to do it. So he was pushing, and he was, you know, having more issues. And I'm like, look, if you can't do this, decide now, like, because we got to make a decision on what to do here. Don't push yourself to a point where, you know, you're going to end up in the hospital. So that's when we made that decision. And like I said, we had been out there. We were faithful, you know, consistent, doing our thing. And I felt good. Like, I felt really good. And I'm like, I could probably walk this, you know, and I don't know. I might not have finished, you know, because after you get out there and realize that it is 100 miles, walking it's going to take a long time. But so I was like, Steve, and he was like, sure. Like, you've been training along, let's get this going. And I give him so much credit because I knew nothing. Like, when I talk about running as a child or even a teenager in our adult years, I would be like, go out there, run as hard as you can, try to get 3 miles in. And then I'm like, I hate this. So I went about it the whole wrong way. Like, that is not what you do. I'm learning a lot. Like, I'm learning the basics of it and, what you need to do and how to prepare yourself. And, it's not just running. There's a lot of other things involved. There's mobility, there's strength training, there's, exercises you need to be doing. And walking is part of it, too. It's not just running. But when we made that decision and Steven said, yeah, I was like, okay, here we go. And then that's when he kicked in I was like, I would like to try to run. And then he kicked in the run thing. And, I think I did really well for not wanting to do this at all. And not being interested in running at all. My focus was, all right, I want to be in shape. And I want, my focus was to just finish this race if I get in it, but my main thing was just to keep going and to be strong. And
so I'm going to interrupt just a second because, Steve, I'm going to turn this to you a little bit because I didn't realize that for the first part of the training when you and your husband were training together that you were doing primarily just walking with running thrown in every now and then. So when your husband had to back out of the race and you decided to participate in the race, now, Steve, I'm coming to you. You decided that you were going to bring in running here at this point. What was the reasoning? What was your thinking? Like, why did you decide to start bringing running? And I don't know how much more of a ramp you still had left in your timeline.
Yeah, so I think my dad made the decision probably like late December because he ran the Frosty Reaper. He did the 8-hour, and then he was fine there. He had some issues, but then it was after that where he kind of like made the call to not do it. So Mom picked up kind of after Christmas. So we had from late December to late March to do that. So a couple months. And Mom, she said she wanted to run a little bit. So we just start putting in some run walk intervals. And I was looking at their paces. I mean, my dad's walking pace and hiking pace is like a slow jog for most people.
Yeah.
He can keep up a pretty good hike for a while. So Mom was pretty much jogging while Dad was walking anyway, so we might as well just throw in some more run walk intervals, and then that's kind of how we approached the first race too.
That's fantastic. So then, we know that for those who are listening, they may not know, this story doesn't end for 2025 with like a hurrah type moment. It ended with a hurrah, but not the type we all get excited about. And so did you feel going into it though that you were prepared as best you could be to that point?
I did. I really did.
Perfect.
I felt strong, and being out there when the race came upon me and I had all you guys around me, I really felt good. Like I had the support, my husband was there, Steve and Jeff, and Brooklyn was there running. So I was sharing the course with somebody that, was cool, and she's a runner too. And I'm like, yeah, I could do this, So it was just emotional too. You throw that in there, but it was a good flow, and I felt really, really good. And I thought, I can do this. And I felt strong. Steven's like, Mom, you're doing great. And up until like, I don't know, I think it was mile 30 when my legs started to bother me. And you came to the rescue with some ointment. And
it's called Valtaren for those who are listening. Valtaren.
We were doing everything at it.
We were doing everything we possibly could. Ice, massage, anything we could do. And I just let it get to my head. Like, I'm pretty good pain-wise. Like, I can tolerate a lot of pain. This was, I think, I was like, this is really killing me. And I'm like, it probably wasn't. But my head just had me out of it. And by the time I got to that bridge, I was like, I knew when we got to the bridge, I'm like, all right, I'm going to make it over. I'm going to do this. I'm going to make it over this bridge. But I knew once I was over, I was like, done. And I felt so bad. I, of course, cried. And, Steven's like, you're not quitting. It's okay. And I'm like, I am quitting, but I don't want to. What do you call it? It's quitting. But I did more than I've ever done. So you figure that out later. In the moment, you're like pissed at yourself and you're angry and, you just want to move forward and you want to, like, why didn't I keep going? Afterwards, you start thinking that. But my mind I knew I was done. And
I'm going to ask you a hard question. So I think I've DNF'd. Now, he's a unicorn. He's not, which we try. We still love him, but we don't think he really can relate to the rest of us humans.
He must have I mean, he has all the tolerance for pain. I don't know. Like, I don't know how he does it, but
I just don't push myself as hard is what I'm saying.
I mean, who knows what it is?
I don't know.
But I do know that when most people DNF, from when I've talked to people, even myself, just there's a general agreement here. We know in advance before we are going to DNF. We know when we're done.
Yeah.
And we kind of hide that. We kind of hold that back in a variety of different ways. We do all kind of different talks and stuff. And then there's a point that we say, no, I'm done. And now I have to let the world know. You were running with your son. Right? Like, that's a hard pill for everybody to swallow, right?
Yeah.
Because he's a coach, he's a runner, he's done all those things, it's all, and he's never DNF'd, right? And so you have this pressure, this albatross sitting next to you as you're on this course. So when you realized you were going to DNF, did it take a long time before you decided to tell him?
Yeah. It took me till that point when we got over the bridge, but he already knew. I could tell. He knew from probably, I don't know, 10 miles back probably, because I shut down. I don't talk. That's my resolve when things start to happen. I just kind of go blank, and, I was still moving, and, we had our poles, and I was like, I feel like an old lady. I'm not going to make it over this bridge. But I'm like, all right, well, Steven's using his pole, so I'm okay. But it was at that point at the bridge where I was like, all right, when I get over, I think this is going to be it. I was going to try, but once I got there, I as soon as I sat down, I could not get back up. And I was like, I'm like, Steve, what do I need to do to finish this? And he was telling me flat out, like, this, and this. And I'm like, there is no way. Oh. And all in my head was, I got 50 more miles to go. So I just totally lost it. So I just said, no. I said, go get it. Go get the buckle. Get out of here. So he probably didn't like that either. He's like,
he got his buckle.
I know he did. I knew he wouldn't stop.
Yeah.
So
Steve, she said that you laid out what needed to be done in order to finish at that point. I'm going to ask you, and I feel like I'm interviewing you both now. I apologize for that. You have questions of your mom about this experience, you're more than welcome to, but I know you were with her the whole time.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you remember this, but when you laid out what she needed to do, now I was pacing Brooklyn, who had struggles herself as well. What type of thing were you needing to communicate with her about what needed to be done?
So, at that point, I had to take all emotion out of it, which is tough, especially because it's your mom. And we hit a tough section. It was really hot during the day there. So from probably like noon to when we hit the bridge was probably like 6 or 7 o'clock. It was probably, I don't know, felt like 90, but it was probably a little bit cooler than that. But the sun was out really bright. So she did a really good job of staying up on her hydration, nutrition, but that stuff plays on you. And so this was her first official, she went through a half marathon, 50K, 50 miler all in one race. And one thing you can't replicate, like she was saying, is like the emotional side and the mental side of a race during training. It's really hard to get into that once you're moving and haven't done any races. So that's where that kind of experience helps out a little bit. Mm-hmm. And then when we hit that aid station where I knew she probably was going to DNF. So I just laid out like, hey, here is the pace that we have to keep. We had a good time, but here was the pace that we have to keep between here and here. Here's the pace that we have to keep between the next one. We don't want to get behind. So that's kind of where I do that with all my athletes. I've done that with Brooklyn when I paced her. I've done it with Michelle when I paced her. If you try to take all the emotion out of it and just lay the facts out and let them make the decision whether they think they're able to keep up that pace or not, then that's where I don't want to say it becomes an easier decision, but it's a fact-based decision and not an emotional decision.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, it's hard to do though when you're pacing somebody and you're trying to help them with that black and white data. And the problem is, and I kind of go back and forth on this myself, Steve, is that I agree with 100% what you say on it because you do want to present that information. But what I'm continuing to learn is that we are presenting that information to somebody who is not currently thinking very well. And their entire rationale is like, well, I can't do it. I've already told myself I can't. You just confirmed it. And I'm like, dang it. Right. And so I don't know how much of lying I need to do in those moments. So if you're listening and you have some advice on whether or not you tell the whole story and nothing but the truth, that would be fantastic to know, because you're right. I think you should present the facts. You need to let somebody know that this is your pacing that you have to hit. But they don't always try that. They just say, that's what I was afraid you were going to tell me, and I don't think I can do that. And so it's a hard decision. It's a hard conversation. So I've spent more time than I expected to on 2025 because it was a complete fiasco for you. And I'm just out of love and respect, I can say that because we're friends and everything. It did not turn out the way you wanted to, but what I truly admire about you is you decided that you wanted to go back to that race. I know you live on the Outer Banks, and so you're familiar with the area, and like you see it all the time. I'm sure that you've been over that bridge more times than you ever wanted to do. Again, just seeing it, and every time you remembered and you probably remember where you quit, right?
Oh yeah. And
that would be one of those moments that you would think, I hate this road, all right, the entire time. And so you decided to sign back up. How long after 2025 did it take before you decided that I'm going to do this again?
I don't even remember. Like, it was probably, I want to say September before I signed up or even thought about it. And I don't know, Steve, when did you sign up to be an ambassador? It was around the same time.
Whenever they had the applications, I said,
so I was like,
put my name in the hat.
He's going to be an ambassador. Now I have to run this thing. But I was training hard still. Like I was so, I mean, that's one good thing about my mental when I'm into something like that. I mean, my work was that way. The way I am in life, when I do something, I do it, and I'm consistent. I stick with it. I just push. And like this round of training was so hard because of all the weather this winter. We went to Jersey. It snowed like 2 feet. We came back here. It snowed when we came back here like a foot. I was like, what is happening? I spent so much time on my treadmill. It was insane. People are like, you watch a movie for like 4 hours? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, I have to do this. And I didn't stop. My husband was like, I can't believe you were on that treadmill for 4 hours. And I'm like, it's on my training. I have to do this. But I am very, very consistent. And this year, my mindset was totally different because I knew what to expect. Like the 2025, you're out there, it's all new. And you're like, starting the race, you're like, 100 miles, that's all right. And then I'm like, oh, yeah, this is 100 miles. My body's telling me. But this year, I was ready. Like my head was in it and my mind was in it. And like I said, everything was thrown at me. I had woman problems. I had weather. Traveling more than usual because we were watching the grandkids. And my husband's like, why'd you say yes? And I'm like, I can't say no. So we're like, it was like everything was thrown at me. And I still was consistent. I still got out there. Watching the kids, I'd get up at 6 o'clock in the morning. So my husband wasn't with them by himself for so long. And I just did my thing. And I know that finishing this race this year was because of all that training and all the consistent and my mindset being like, I didn't think about anything when I was out there. I knew Steve was in control of the watch. So I was like, I didn't look at my watch. I didn't look at my phone. I didn't even take my phone out of my pocket, which is not like me. I think I did a couple times. I took a couple pictures. Yeah. But I didn't worry about anything. I just moved forward. I just kept hearing Steven say, all right, as long as you're moving forward, you're good. And I was pleasantly surprised that everything was like, and the weather was good. We were moving. I was still running at the bridge. I was like, this is crazy, but I feel really good. Everything hurts, but I don't care. I was at that point where I was like, I'm doing this. As soon as I got over that bridge, I'm like, I know I got this. I can
awesome.
do this. Yeah. So I was like really strong mentally. Plus I had, Steven as my sidekick. Keeping
Yeah, but you had
Don't give me
I'll
any
be
credit.
that. I'm gonna be that guy. But you had Steve in 2025. So I mean, let's not give Steve that kind of like luxury here.
And the crew was amazing. So
Right.
Got
So
it,
5 a.m. I think is the race start for
Yep.
Blackbeards.
Yep.
You're at the race start in 2026. You had DNF last year. You did a lot more training this year, so you went to the line having even more training in your wheelhouse.
Right.
Any concerns, any doubts, any fears? What was it like standing at the starting line of 2026, knowing more than what you'd ever known before about these races? And what was it like to stand there and think, okay,
Right.
about to start?
Here I am again. Like I said, my mindset was different. So I thought about the finish line most of the race rather than all the in between.
Okay.
So I don't know if that helped me, but starting the race, I wasn't as nervous. Of course, you get the jitters and you're like, something's going to happen. I'm waiting for that thing to hit, and it did. We had a little issue of me falling, but the start of the race was good. Even though it was raining, we got out there, we were like, oh my God, why is it raining? It's not supposed to be raining. But it wasn't bad. It was just enough to be annoying. And, you make it through, do what you got to do because it's race day. And yeah, so I just pushed forward and I did my thing. I don't know what that thing is, but
I think we got there like a little bit later than we did last year too. So we didn't, I would
really
say
have
the
enough
nerves
time.
probably would have, the nerves would have been a little bit higher if we got there a little bit earlier. I mean, I was anxious
Yeah.
because we weren't there that early, but then it also like you're not standing around and like waiting to start. We basically just
Right.
had enough time to go to the bathroom and get started, which
Yeah.
then was another level of anxiety for me because I don't do that.
you done good, Steve.
I try.
No. And then, like I said, we had around mile 28, I took a spill, and I thought Steven had a heart attack because he turned around and was like, oh my God, she's like done. Like I could see it in his face. And, I hit my elbow. The guy behind me was like running over. He's like, oh my God, are you all right? And I'm like, how hard did I really hit? Like, it was just like so fast. And I'm like, all right, my head's still good. I can feel it. My neck's not hurting. Steve's like, can you move your ankles? And I'm like, yes, I can. I'm good. So I got up, brushed off, and I'm like, all right, nothing's broken. Everything's working. And I'm like, all right, let's do this. And we just kept moving. But that was a scary point because me laying on the ground, I'm thinking, I'm not going to be able to finish this. Like, it just went through my head. Like, I know I'm not going to be able to get up. My arm's killing me. It went into my neck. But I stood up and I'm like, hey, all right. Nothing fell off. Nothing.
Yeah.
I'm still here.
I really thought your race was over at that point, just because I was more concerned because it was just a drop off from the side that she twisted an ankle or something, and that
Right,
you just
right.
can't gut that out for 70 miles.
Yeah, no, but nothing hurt because of that until maybe mile 90, which was, I think, pretty good. That's when my knee started to give me a little bit. But, I mean, all the other hurt was just normal from running. So, yeah. But so I threw in a little excitement,
Well, I mean, you got to keep the blood pressure up for everybody involved.
Right.
Any lows during the race? Any questioning of what are you doing? Am I going to be able to do this? Like, how's it? Like any points that you thought to yourself, I'm feeling like crap. I'm not sure what's going to happen. How I'm going to get through this.
Yeah. It was later in the race. I'd probably say like mile 70, 75 maybe, when it wasn't really stomach issues. It was more like bathroom issues.
Sure.
And I'm like, I gotta go again. And it was like, is this ever going to end? And so it was like every time I started running. So I'm like, this is going to like interfere with me. Like, just get out. And that was like my issue. Like, I just And Steve's like, go in the bush, go over here. I'm like, that's fun. That's fun for you to say. It's not even a bush. It was like, you're in the dune. Like, people are riding by you. I said, I can't. I said, I guess I have to get that out of my head. But I think that was my worst issue. The whole entire race was just the bathroom thing. And I was like, this is crazy. Like, but pain-wise, I didn't have a lot. Like, a knock on wood. Until, like I said, mile 90. And before that, your feet hurt. Like, my feet felt like lead. You know, you're just like, and your body's starting to tell you that you shouldn't be doing this. But like I said, I just kept moving forward, and I was trying to, focus on other things, and just tried to not pay attention to whatever my body was telling me to stop. And I just ignored it, and it worked for some odd reason for this year.
So I'm not gonna let you guys gloss by this. So we have an advantage, Steve, when it comes to races that we participate in, because we are men, and we don't have the limitations or the challenges that some women have in those types of environments. Now, the Outer Banks, this particular race is, like you said, it's fully exposed. It's not like you're running through a wooded area where there's a bunch of trees people can go behind. Like, I've been in races where I have seen women go to the side of the trail, and they would have a friend with them who would just kind of block, visually block, and let people runners know, hey, my friend's using the bathroom, trying to look to the other side of the trail. I mean, I've been in races like that. Yeah. So that's a real issue.
And
I think that is
mom.
Right. And this is your mom, Steve. Right? And so I don't even know where I'm about to go here, but I will just tell you something that everybody should know. And we're gonna try this somehow.
My God, this is hilarious.
Keep this clean as possible. But I can tell you that for women, that they sell on Amazon a device, if you will, like, and I hate to say it's like a funnel, because y'all are just going to shoot me in my face. That they use when they go camping, that you can use, that allows you to not feel like you have to do a full squat. Right. And so we're just going to have this conversation, because I know we have women listening to this podcast, but there are things that you can buy that will help you in a situation like this, because men have an advantage in this area. We know this, but there are solutions out there. But in that case, you still have to be vulnerable and understand that everybody around you. And so to know this is that if you're listening, you're thinking, they really are having this conversation. We really are. Right? But every single person who does an ultra is familiar with this topic. And the thing that new runners need to understand is that if you're experiencing what Anna is describing, you are not experiencing something that every single other runner has gone through in a race or in a training run. And I think that's the reality of it, is that if we can get that through our own thick heads, we would kind of get a little bit down on this concern that we have about, oh my God, I got to go pee, or oh my God, I got to go poop, whatever it is. Every single person has done this in a race or in training and can relate to it. Now, sure, it's embarrassing for some. I get all that. And particularly if you are code browning on a race, like, I get all that. But it is real.
It's true,
right?
yes.
And I think that's okay. And actually, Steve had put together a blog. I had put a blog together. I just never have published it. I wrote about this topic.
Oh, you should.
You need to put it out.
Because I think that people need to be okay with the reality that this happens. And the reason I'm dragging this out is because I think it's okay to normalize this. And so that's why I said I'm not going to let you off the hook.
And I mean,
and it does. It affects the whole race.
It does.
Yeah.
It affects you because it's in your brain, and then you don't know what to do, and it creates so much anxiety for you the however long. Like, you've got to be okay understanding everybody may deal with this, and you're going to go take care of it. And no one in the race is going to judge you now. The spectators are going to they're going to gawk.
Oh yeah,
They're going to be like, did she just go? She did.
And I did use the woods once. But then, it was dark, and I was okay with it. The rest of the race, I was like, even in this dark, like, there's nowhere to go. Like, there's nowhere. Steven's like, I'll hold you up. And I'm like, you're not holding me up.
The first half of the race, we were using the construction porta potties, which were great throughout the race, because it's all there, it's all populated. But after you go over that bridge, it's really nothing. There's like nothing there. It's very sparsely populated, so...
I recall a few of the aid stations had them, but that's it. Yeah.
And it's fun stuff.
Yeah.
But I survived that and I made it.
Was there anything that we did? I know, I mean, for me, the top of my head, I know what it was. But was there anything different that you think you did between this year and last year in terms of training that helped you get through it a little bit better?
The mobility and the strength training absolutely helped much better. Just because, and I not blame, but that that fall, I think I didn't get hurt because of the things that I was doing. You had me doing ankle training, like the, twirling your foot, or I don't know what the heck it's called, but, and people are going to go, well, she's nuts. The hell is she talking about? But, all that came into play. I mean, I hit hard and I felt fine. Like I stood up and I was like, oh, let me sit down for another minute. So I sat down for another minute, but I thought for sure my neck was going to be killing me because I thought I have whiplash. Like it just hit that hard, my elbow. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to feel like I broke my arm. Nothing. I was totally fine. So I know that training helped me in that aspect of the race. And of course the race
That's exactly
itself
what I was
too.
going to say.
Like, yeah, is that what it was? But
that's what I was going to say. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally believe that. And not just because you're my coach and you're my son.
Sure, whatever.
I did all the hard work. So
that's right.
Like, I know
That's
that
exactly why.
It paid off. It really did.
So,
and people need to know that.
Well, they need to know that, and that's why I'm going to dig it. So here we go. Steve and I talked about this a little bit too the other day. I listen to podcasts. I am coached. I coach athletes. Steve does as well. He listens to the podcast. We spend way too much time probably listening and talking about running with lots of people. And, a lot of people will talk about strength training. Some people do it. Some people don't. Some people are for it. Some people are against it. Whatever. But I think the thing that makes me the craziest is I listen to podcasts all the time on this topic. And I'm like, can you tell them what you mean by strength training? Because people visualize strength training in a variety of different ways. Some people visualize that they're going to a gym and they're sitting on a bench doing bench pressing, or they're doing Olympic lift weights, or they're doing body weights, or they're doing high reps, they're doing low reps, they're doing high weight, low weight. There's so much variation to strength training. So when you say you guys did strength training, what did you mean?
Well, it surprised me what it was actually.
That's what I'm.
Yeah, like it was more body weight. You're doing squats, you're doing lunges, you're doing yoga, you're doing stretches, you're using a wall to lean up against and do a squat on the wall, your bands, band work. And it's only like 30 minutes when you're doing it, maybe 3-4 times a week. And it was, when you're doing it, you're like, this doesn't seem like a lot. I felt like I should be doing more, but I was like, I threw in, some more yoga, maybe a couple of days, but I'm like, it really worked. And for me being older, your balance starts to go. So like you would do the step up, put your knee up, step up, put your knee up. I was like falling all over. I'm like, what is happening? But it made me better. And that was another thing, like I was going to ask my coach to throw in some more balance exercises too, because I really think that helped me with moving and being able to stay upright. But the strength and mobility, like I said, it wasn't a lot. It was just enough. And that's what Steve said. He's like, it's not a whole lot. You just throw it in there and you do what you need to do. And like there was some of these rope things. I'm like, I don't have any ropes. So I used my bands. I tied them around a bunk bed and I was like, using them. I'm like, well, you can make your own. Like this is simple. Like it's simple stuff. And yeah, I believe it made me so much stronger.
I think that's great. And I think it's important to say that it is not what many people think it is. And because it doesn't have to be a huge time commitment, and it doesn't have to be 4 or 5 days a week. It could be the way I try to tell. So not all of my athletes are getting strength training program for them. Some have asked for it. Some don't mess with it. They don't even care. And so I make it available. But if I do, it's going to be body weight driven, right? And I tell them, we're going to start just 2 days a week. because they're also running in 4 to 5 days. Most of them, some of them are up to 6, and it just depends. But I say, let's just start with 2 days, and let's try to be consistent on 2 days. And if they start being consistent on 2 days and they want a 3rd day or a 4th day, whatever, cool, we'll add that in. But until we are consistent on a couple days, there's no reason to keep like dumping it out there. But it's not complicated. It doesn't have to be intense. It doesn't have to be like what you think of when you look at Instagram or watch influencers and all that kind of stuff. It is not that type of thing, because your primary activity is running.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And you don't need a gym. I mean, you are the gym. So there you go.
You are the gym.
And it's a big thing too, where like I could put it on there, right? But you have to do it. And having that consistency to actually do it. And like Jeff said, it was 2 days a week, and then we had 2 days a week of mobility. But just doing it consistently, that's where the improvements came from.
Yep. Absolutely. I believe that.
Mile 54.
Mile 54.
You'd already fallen. You got up off the ground. You realized your neck was going to be okay. You're 24 miles later into the race because you fell around mile 30, you said. Yeah. So at mile 54, you'd come across the bridge. You were at your spot, I think around the area that you quit last time or DNF'd or whatever you want to call it. Doesn't really matter because it's in the past. So at mile 54, what was that moment like?
That was amazing. I think that was the best part of the race, because I wanted to get over that bridge, number one, healthy and all together and in one piece and not hurting. And I did. And Steven's like, well, we'll run whatever we can. So we ran pretty much, walked the whole bridge except for the top. We walked that part. But it was pretty much a run walk. So I was like, this is great. And when I came over that bridge, I'm like, I got this. I got it. This year, like, I know that I have a lot more work ahead of me, but I didn't think about the 50 more miles that I had to go. Last year, I was like, I have 50 more miles to go. This isn't going to work. This year, I was like, yeah, I'm going to do it. I'm done. Like, I am going to do this. I felt really strong. And when I got to the other side, and I think everybody was happy for me too. Like, the crew was like, yay, like they were just like, you're doing it. And the sun was still up where the sun was down. Like, we made it, I think, almost an hour and a half or an hour.
Hour and a half earlier. Yeah.
Ahead of time than, further than last year. So I was like, yes, I got this. So that was exciting. Yeah.
That's awesome.
For sure.
And then also our gym boss went off to walk because we were still doing the run walk. And Mom said, let's run it in. So we ran in the last little bit, and then just running into that aid station instead of hobbling in was awesome to see her do that too.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
I asked in 2025 if you knew the moment that you were going to DNF, right? Because I believe we know those moments. And I also think that in the middle of a race, not beginning of the race, but in the middle of the race, there's a moment that a lot of us recognize the point that we're going to finish. Again, Steve, you don't apply here. But for those of us who have DNF, we recognize these points in times. And so I have been in races very much like that. And it could be at a random spot. I've had it happen at mile 30. I've had it happen at like mile 70 something. And there's a point and I'm like, oh, like I'm going to finish this. I know for a fact it's going to happen. Right. And you still have a buttload of work still to do. But there is a resolution that almost takes place for a lot of people that they're like, I've got this. Like, this is not going to get worse. I mean, it could, but it's not going to get beyond a point that I can't handle this unless the wheels completely fall off and I get injured or something like that. And so I think it's interesting that there are defining moments that kind of help people recognize the good and the bad. And they're somewhat emotional, but I know that when you have that moment that you realize you're going to finish, it is a sense of peace is probably the best way that kind of comes over you, I think.
Yeah. And I that there's, like you said, there's more suffering that's going to come. Like, I know I'm not going to finish this race without hurting some more, but my head was there and I was like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do it. I'm going to push myself. I'm going to, whatever it takes, I'm going to do this. And it worked.
That's awesome. Let's talk some practical, technical type stuff real quick. So you guys, the walk. Steve, since she wasn't looking at the watch, what was the run walk intervals that you guys chose?
So it started off at a 4-2, 4 minute on with a run and 2 minute off with a walk. And then we kept that up pretty much all the way up to, I would say, the 100K mark.
Oh, 60 miles into that. Okay.
Yeah. So it was really good. The only time we really didn't do it was like we may have taken a couple extra intervals coming out of an aid station. just to get back into the rhythm. And then after that, we split it to a 3-3, where it's a 3-minute run, 3-minute walk, just to give us a little bit more rest time. And then at about mile, probably like 80-ish around there, that's when we started a 1:30 run and a 3-minute walk. We did that up to mile 90. And then mile 90 was, Mom tried to go a couple times, but that's when her knee started acting up, where she could walk efficiently. So instead of ruining our walk gait with trying to force a run, we just walked it in from mile. And like, it wasn't like a death march. Like, Mom never got to a death march except for like one point, and I pointed it out to her. And I was like, all right, we got to move. You still stay below 20-minute miles when we were walking at the end.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when this episode comes out, we will have just released recently an episode with Chris Twiggs, who talked all about run, walk, run. And so if you are listening, you're thinking, oh my God, she did a run, walk 4-2 in her second ever 100-mile race and got to mile 60, running 4 minutes, walking 2 minutes, and you have been unable to do that. I would highly encourage you to listen to the Chris Twiggs episode, which is episode 39. And you learn about all kinds of things, run, walk. 4-2, 3-3, and 1:33. When you switch from the 4-2 to the 3-3, Anna, and he told you you're going to switch, was that good news or bad news? Did you get worried, or how did you feel when we were like, oh no, we're starting to change our pattern?
No, I was still feeling good, but I was like, he is the coach. He knows where we need to be, and he can tell probably by the way I was running or by the way I was walking, or that it was time, or maybe our stomach issues were acting up more at that point. I don't know, but I just had all my faith in Steve and the way he planned it out, and I was like, all right, I followed him all along in my training. I'm not going to screw it up now. I'm going to listen. I'm not going to fight it. I was like, maybe I could have gone more 4-2, but why would I push it? Like, we were going to make it, we were going to be there before cutoffs. We were on a good rhythm. I'm like, I'm just going to go with whatever he says. And I was fine. I was fine with it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Hydration. What'd you drink? What'd you eat?
I did Tailwind pretty much the whole time. Regular water in the, hydration pack. Ice in the water this time. I'm like, you know what? Last year was so hot. Like, I didn't even think about putting ice in my pack. I put it on my head and everything else, but I'm like, throw some ice in that bag. So we were doing that. I ate gels, the Humagels. We had what were the other? Honey Stinger waffles. Anything I could throw in my bag. Swedish fish.
Yep.
I thought about you when I had the Swedish fish.
Delicious.
Yeah. What are the other gels? Are they the Honey Stingers too? The little...
Yeah, the Honey Stinger chews you had too.
Chews, yeah. I had those. I really like those. They're my favorite because they're like the Swedish fish, of course. Oh, we did pocket pretzels.
Pocket
they
pretzels.
Gotta have the
Can't forget
Wawa
about pocket
pretzels. Can't forget
That's disgusting.
those. And I did pancakes with peanut butter and jelly. I made these like little single pancakes. Not peanut butter and jelly, peanut butter and honey. So they were good. We had the peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. The Uncrustables, yeah, they were good. Plus I was on an antibiotic, and of course the doc's like, because I was telling him I was doing this, and I'm like, you really have to put me on an antibiotic? He says, yeah. He says, but you're going to have to eat. Is that going to be okay? And I'm like, we eat all day long. When you're running, you eat all day long. He's like, what? And I'm like, yeah, like Uncrustables and peanut butter crackers and, candy. He's like, what?
That is awesome.
So that was another issue, having that. But at least I was able to eat. I was forcing myself to eat because I knew that, I didn't want the stomach issues to come up, especially with that too, the antibiotic. But the Tailwind works really well for me. I don't really have any issues with it.
Good.
Until about mile 90, I was like, I've had enough. I'm just doing water now. So we
Right.
And when I do the salt tabs, that helped. So I do those the whole time. Like I just, every 30 minutes or so, just pop one. And they're the chewable ones, and they work fine. But I'm trying to think of what else I had in that bag.
We had mashed
Everything.
potatoes at like mile...
Oh, yeah, we did eat
was
that.
it
Yeah.
mile 50 or 60, yeah. And
Yeah, that was
sustain
really
us, too.
good.
Because when you first started, I was thinking you just had gels and chews and things, but it sounds like you had a good amount of real food too, which is a lot of people say, particularly for those of us who are not elite, like the mid to back of the packers, right? We probably need to eat more solid food. Like your elite runners can get away with just doing liquid hydration or liquid nutrition, excuse me. But I don't think that everybody has that luxury. And if we try to subsist on just gels and stuff like that, we will have a ton of stomach issues by the time we get into 25 to 30 hours and all that as well. And so, Steve, I did have a little bit of nostalgia though when she was talking about pancakes. It reminded me when the first time I ever talked to you and interviewed on the Ultra Running Guys podcast, you know, episode 1, I believe it was, you talked about having pancakes for your first race or whatever it is. I was like, oh, like mother, like son. That's fantastic. That is awesome. I had another question about it, of everything. But Steve, did you have any technical questions?
Let me think. And then, oh, and do you remember, like, what your highest volume was, like, during the week? And I think it's important for people to know, did we train, like, miles or time on feet? I think that's important for people to know, too.
Okay.
In terms of, like, did I give you miles to run or just give you, like, hours to run, that kind of stuff?
Yeah. You gave both, but towards the end, I think it was, you did, Saturdays were like the long runs and they were the miles. So we just didn't worry about time, just get the miles in. So the time on the feet. And you did the also timed ones. Like you would be like, 2 hours, you got to do this. And it was the run walk pretty much the whole time. There was like one day a week where I would do a full run, but most of the time it was the run walks. And the training, like I said, it was hard. Sure, being out there 4 hours and, your neighbors are like, there she goes again. There she goes again. Like, think you're crazy, but it's amazing what you can do when you put your mind to it. Like when you're first starting out, you're like, oh, do I really want to do this? And like I said, most of the time here, the weather was perfect. Like I was okay. But the winter, when it hit really hard, it was like, oh Lord, what am I going to do? But yeah, so you did mix it up, but towards the end, it was all like time on feet most of the time, just to, keep me out there, drive me crazy.
Yeah, Steve, let's talk about that. What you and I, we obviously prescribe mileage versus timed runs, like duration runs. What is your thinking about that? Like, why do you choose to do miles versus time sometimes?
I do miles mostly. One for this was, I do time mostly for this because it was based around a run walk interval. So I just wanted to, kind of make it easy that way. And then that also helps a lot of people to actually plan, like I'm only going to be out there for 4 hours I say only 4 hours, but this is the amount of time that it's going to take to do the workout instead of trying to calculate how long 20 miles is going to be. And then I'll only add in miles towards the end if I know I want to hit like a specific volume on like a long run or like a back-to-back long run.
Yeah, I'm very similar to that. I mean, I will program that around their runners' preferences sometimes if they tend to be a runner that is, if I want them to spend more time on their feet and I want them to get out there and do that, I will do a timed run because some runners like to run faster in order to get their 5 miles, 10 miles, whatever number of miles over with faster. And I'm like, I need you to slow it down. So if you're trying to get it done because you have somewhere you need to be, then let's go ahead and plan the 2 hours that you need to have planned or whatever that is. And so, like you said, for planning purposes, to give them that hours helps them to know I'm expecting you to do this. And I don't really care how far you go. I just care how long you go, and long being time wise, but I do miles as well. And I think it's helpful for them to get a taste of that, to kind of see what the mileage running is looking like, because I now have to run for that long. And so in other words, for those runners who I think maybe they want to pick up the pace a little bit, and I'm okay if they tend to always run easy, and it's okay if they don't pick up the pace, but if they have that flexibility, then I'm like, it's okay if you go a little bit faster or whatever. So sometimes I'll do miles for that as well. I do both. It really depends on the situation and kind of going to the race. But time on feet And duration running is important because you want a certain amount of time that you want your runners to have on their feet over a course of a week, not just in a given run. And actually over the course of the month, you're looking at the total time on feet. And then same thing for miles. There's typically a goal miles that you're trying to start building somebody to, and you're trying to balance it too. So I agree. I think that's great. Sorry, Anna, we just wanted to kind of get your perspective too.
It's okay.
You get to be the victim of these types of things that coaches do to you. So I have another question I wanted to ask you about, and that is, Steve, if a runner comes to you and says to you, hey, my friend signed up for this race, we're going to run it together.
Usually,
what do you say to them?
Usually we say, well, that's probably a bad idea.
Why, Steve?
Well, I mean, because it's really hard. You don't know what their training is going to be like. You don't know if you're going to be the one carrying them the whole way or vice versa. And their paces are generally off too. And kind of like how we did last year, what happens if one person drops and what do you do for that? Like when the other one decides their race is over.
Right.
Yeah, because it's one thing to take a running buddy out with you on a long run on the weekend. You're like, yeah, we did 20 miles together. We run together all the time. It's a whole nother ball game to get them to go stick with you for 100 miles, because you're talking about going for a day together on a run, and that's a long time. So I think it's absolutely cool that you guys were able to do that. I do the same thing, Steve. I tell my runners, go for it, like have at it, but have a plan. You know, if somebody you think is going to tank or going to fall apart or whatever it is, there should be a plan to kind of go your own race and run your own race. So, Anna, let's assume that Steve fell off the sidewalk and not you. And Steve twisted his ankle or whatever. What would you have done?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Let's see. 2025, I would have just said, I'm done.
Right?
Probably. 2026, I think I would have pushed it.
Yeah.
I would have tried anyway. I mean, but I would be worried about him. Like, he's my son. Like, is he okay? Is he, like, your mental now starts to go another way, but the crew, having my husband and Katie and the kids were there. We had 2 cars, and knowing that, if Steve was okay and I could keep doing this and I had the support, that I probably could have pushed through it, because my mind was set that I wanted to finish this. And, I want to do it for me, but I wanted to do it for Steve too, because he, believed in me the whole time. He just pushed me, he's like, I know you can do this, so I don't know. I think at that point it would have been a hard decision, a really hard decision, but I think I would have tried. I think I would have pushed forward, and, who knows what would have happened, but I think I would have, at the nighttime thing may have kicked me out. Like I told him, I said, I don't know how you did this by yourself. The nighttime was, and then I'm thinking, well, this is nothing compared to Cocodona. Like, I mean, you're out in the middle of the woods, nowhere. Like here, at least there's traffic going by and there's, people around you, but the nighttime was so different. It was weird. It was just a weird feeling out there. And I'm like, if I was out here by myself, I don't know if, I'd have to hook up with somebody and say, can I, just trudge along with you? But yeah, I think I hope in that situation that I would have said, okay, everything's okay. You're okay. I'm going to move forward. So, I don't know if I would have.
Particularly if it had happened after mile 54, I think you'd have been fine.
Yeah.
Because it matters.
I would have told her, I would have told her, like, I would have played the game of, like, you're just going to get to the next aid station. Like, just try for the next aid station.
Yeah.
And then after that, I would just be like, all right, now the next aid station. We're just going to keep doing that. Just all the way through.
Yeah.
So that means you've set yourself up for this next question then.
I know.
Next year, I believe that Steve's going to be an ambassador for the Blackbeard Revenge 100. If you are going to run it again and solo.
Oh, that I don't know.
Would you ever try running another ultra by yourself, though, without Steve?
Maybe a smaller one. maybe like a 50K or something, or I don't know. Like, I might try, that, but I don't know if I could. I don't know. It's hard. That's a hard decision. I don't know if I could do 100 by myself.
Why?
I don't know. It's a different mindset. Well, like, I did have a different mindset this year, so I probably could twist myself into
Anna,
maybe
Anna,
doing it.
Anna Epifano, did you run 100 miles or did you not run 100 miles?
I did run 100 miles, but with a lot of help.
Did Steve
But I
carry
did
you?
it.
Did
No,
Steve
he
carry
didn't
you?
carry me. Well,
Nope.
No, did he
kind of.
physically carry you? Did you get in a car at any point?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
Well, yeah, I did.
So can you
but
run
not
100
to-
miles? Can you run 100
I can.
miles?
Yeah, I can. I did it.
Is it any different than what other people do? Like you said, well, it was different because, Steve, it's not like Cocodona 250. Like, what does that even mean?
The darkness, I meant. But that was 250 miles. I don't know if I would ever attempt that. But I can tell you this. I'm much more enthused about running than anything I've ever done in my life as far as athletics and taking care of myself. And like, I can't wait to get back out there and run right now. Like, this walking is killing me. But it's a weird thing for me to be saying that, because I never ever would have ever said those words. Like, I don't know, is it really coming out of my mouth? But like the running, I don't know what it is. It's addictive, I guess. And I'm not getting any younger, and I didn't start till I was old. So
Welcome to the club.
yeah,
You could absolutely do a 100-mile race by yourself, because I didn't run the miles for you. I didn't train
all
the
I need
miles
is that
for you.
the ding to go off.
You need the
and
gym boss. That's it. I mean, every time it went off, I didn't say it's time to go. We
No.
just
Right.
you just went. So
Yeah.
it wasn't. I was there as like a safety net, but
Right.
you didn't need it. And then
Yeah.
if you have a plan B, sometimes your plan A doesn't work out.
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
next time would probably be, you may even go faster, because I won't
Yeah.
hold you back.
Right.
I mean, Anna, and I said at the beginning I know you, but I still technically barely know you, right? But I feel like this has done a crap ton for your confidence, like personal confidence. And I'm wondering, if you are still struggling to accept the fact that you did something absolutely batshit crazy incredible. Like, I don't understand, like, this isn't, Steve's great. Steve's a good coach. Steve is a good son. He is somebody who hung out with you the entire time. But this actually isn't Steve that did this race.
Yeah.
You understand me?
I do. It was
Right.
me.
It was you, and that is something you get to wear the gaudy little buckle if you want to, or
my
whatever it is.
God.
But it's yours. Like, it's
Right.
not his. It's nobody else. It's not even because your husband got sick and wasn't able to do the race. It's because you chose to do the race in 2025. You failed. You decided to come back in 2026 and give it a whirl, and
Right.
you did, and you finished. And I think you just literally need to embrace that and think, I could do whatever I want to do.
Maybe it will hit someday. It's starting to sink in, really. But
I'm going to take a
yeah.
hammer and hit you with it myself. like, it's insanity. Like, I don't get it. Like, Steve, I don't get it, because I think she absolutely could do it. And the fact that you told her, like, using a gym boss is exactly what it would take, is something to just cue you, because he is present, sure, but
Right.
you have the physical skills to do what you need to do, and anybody can do it. And you started running in your 60s, right?
Yeah.
You said you're 63,
Yeah.
so that means in the beginning of 60, roughly, you started doing this.
Yep.
Anybody can do this,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And so yay, yay, yay.
Yeah. It does feel.
I don't
good.
know what you do with her, Steve. I mean, it's your mom. She's like, just annoying. It's like,
tried.
my mom makes me crazy too sometimes. Like, what's going on? I think it's fantastic.
Thank you. And
I
it will
really
sink
do.
in. It will.
Yeah,
it will-
hopefully one day it sinks in. It better
yeah.
soon.
I did put the buckle on the other day, and I was like, hey,
Oh,
did I ever
that's
show
good.
you my buckle?
You know how it sinks in, Anna? Is when you go to Ultra Sign Up and you sign up for your next race.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess. I think.
And then you just send the confirmation to Steve. Say, hey,
Steve.
I need you to plan this race for me. You can run it or not, but I'm running this race.
Yeah.
That's how
I'd
it
be all
works.
for it. Let's
Right?
go.
I know you would, Steve. And it can't be the RAF 50K.
No.
Ooh, that would be rough anyway. But you could do it.
I fell on that one too. Oh. Yeah.
All right. Steve, any other questions for your mom? Anything we need to know about, like coming out to visit you or anything we need to talk about before we go to the next section?
Oh, no, I think I'm good. Yeah.
Awesome. So, and at the end of each of our episodes, we do a segment we call Coach's Corner. Like I said, I think you've listened to the episodes before. You kind of know we do this. And so at the end, we take a question from a listener and we read that off for those who are guests, and we help them, we invite them to answer and be a part of that with us. And so this is a coaching related question. So you get to just throw out your best answer with us because we're going to muddy it up anyway, Anna.
Yeah.
It's really okay. And so we do that as well. But this question came from us from Bill Buselli. I should probably just say Bill because I'm not sure if I said his last name right. So I apologize, Bill.
Close enough.
But it's a rather long question, so I'm going to try to just kind of run through it really quickly. But maybe I'll just do it this way. The main premise is this. How much benefit would I be losing if I split up my long runs into something throughout the course of the week? For example, if he has a 15-mile run, if he splits it up something like 8 miles before work and 7 miles on a lunch break, or he has some sort of gap between two halves of a run. So not like you go run 5 miles, you take a potty break, and you run another 5 miles. And there's a gap of time. So is there a benefit, or is he losing anything if he splits up a long run is the question. Does that sound right, Steve? Did I read that right?
Yep. Yeah, that was perfect.
Okay.
You don't have to answer that. I mean, you can throw out your best answer if you want to, but Steve and I are going to give it a whirl as well. Steve, you want to go first?
I mean, hopefully my network's not, there we go, it's back. I would take up the split if you can't get all of them in at once, but there comes a time there's benefits to that, but you also want to make sure you're not running too hard, on both of those where you're still doing the prescribed workout. But there is a time in training, depending on what you're training for, that you're going to want to put in a big block all at once, so if you have time on the weekend to do a 15, 20 miler, I wouldn't split that up because you want to be able to spend time on your feet there and see what it feels like not taking that break so your body doesn't get used to it.
Yeah, I'll only add, I think there's a benefit in splitting up the run, particularly if you're pressed for time during the week. So I would recommend you trying to do that. To your point, if you're trying to split the morning run because of time and you're going to run the second half later in the day, that doesn't mean you need to sprint the first half. It was intended to be a slow, easy run. So it means that you have poor scheduling at this point and you need to give yourself the time. If again, still split it, but just run at the same effort that the plan had you for both those. I would also say splitting your run is acceptable if you find that you are your form is breaking down and you're close to home, then go ahead and cut that in short and then get the second half later on. I'd also say that splitting your long run doesn't have to be a 50-50 split. A lot of times when we think about splitting a long run, we're like, oh, if it's 10 miles, we're going to do 5 and 5, or 15, we'll do 8 and 7. But if it's a 15-mile run, then split it 10 and 5. Don't always think in terms of an even 50-50 split. Give yourself a little bit longer time so that you get, to your point, a longer period of time in it. And the negative, which is what you were getting at, Steve, is that you still want to make sure that you don't split all your long runs. On the weekend is a great time to have that 15, 20, whatever mile run it is. But it's to get your time on your feet, but also to practice your nutrition and your hydration, because I'm sure your coach is like, make sure you practice all the stuff you're going to do on race day. Well, if you don't need to take any hydration or nutrition because you split your long run, you're not practicing. So I would say that's another big negative if you split all your long runs that you haven't been able to practice that either. So Anna, do you have any thoughts on this?
I agree with both of you.
Perfect. She's like, don't be a whiner, just go run, Bill.
That's right.
No.
Consistency.
Get it done.
Yeah. But it is challenging. So Bill, I think it's a great question because I do think if you can't get your runs in, you should split them sometimes. And then because I still think there's benefit of that. It's also hard to run the second half of that day because your body's like, oh, I thought we were done for the day. So there is a benefit of this as well on that. But I think it's a good question. So Bill, we do appreciate you taking the time to send it in. And so if anybody else has questions for us, please send those in as well, and we will include them on a future episode. You can actually email us those questions. We'll answer them, and then we'll probably include them on the episode anyway. So if you got questions for Steve and I, just send them in, and we will be more than happy to address them. But Anna, thank you so much for being our guest and being Steve's mom.
Thanks for having me.
I know.
Thanks, Ma.
That's right.
You're welcome.
Well, yeah, we appreciate you. We appreciate you. We believe in you probably more than you believe in yourself right now. How about that?
I think so. Yeah.
We are looking forward to tracking you on Ultra Sign Up to see what you sign up for. And we can't wait to hear what the next race is. You may be an ambassador yourself at 2027 for Blackbeards. That would be kind of cool.
Hey, that would be kind of cool.
But we are grateful, and seriously, congratulations on finishing your first 100.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Super proud of you. I said it enough already.
I know.
It's huge. It is huge.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you for everybody who's taken the time to listen to the episode. You hopefully are as inspired as Steve and I are just by the fact that you can get running later in life and you can run your first 100-mile race. You don't have to make it look pretty. You just have to go and put in the effort. You have to do the work. You have to do whatever it takes. And sometimes it's a good day. Sometimes it's a bad day, but it's always a day. And so we are grateful for you taking the time to listen to this episode, to download us in your ears. If you've got guest suggestions, send those in as well. Send us questions in for Coach's Corner, but like, subscribe, do all the fun things that all the cool cats say to do. And we just really appreciate you. So thanks for listening, and we'll see you guys soon. See ya.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye now.